Hi kids, Blackie Ray here with I'm starting this set of vids that I'm gonna do more or less just kind of helping the metalhead guys out there with just simply, I guess, dating. You might as well say dating, because dating is usually a tough go for a lot of us hardcore metal dudes. Well, I can't even, and that whole thing kind of changed for me over the course of my life. But anyway, a lot of you metalhead dudes know what I'm talking about. A friend of mine, Rob on Twitter, who shall remain anonymous from here on out, decided to be a good idea for me to go ahead and start doing advice vids on this kind of thing. Just simply because metal is I'm a musician, so I like all kinds of music, but metal is one of those things that everybody's not into. It's kind of got to be something that appeals to you on a certain level. So more or less, if you listen to metal all the time, it can totally alienate the chicks. Or if you're gay, it alienates the dudes, or whatever. Or if you're a lesbian, it alienates other chicks that aren't into metal. I really want to give a set of rules that kind of helps with everybody. So more or less, this first vid is going to be more or less about how do you get through that whole area of alienating yourself from being, or for being, a metalhead to the rest of the world, or whoever, or maybe even the kind of chicks that you're trying to date. Realistically, you kind of want to go for somebody who has the same interests, but a lot of times they may not be exactly into the same kind of music you're into, or the same kind of stuff you're into, but there's a level of attraction there. So more or less, my thing to do would be you have to find some kind of middle ground, some kind of area. You have to decide the kind of person that you want to date and that you'll be happy dating. More or less, I feel like a lot of times we kind of jump onto these ideals or these things that ultimately other people decide. It's not the kind of things we like, it's the kind of things that people will notice or admire about you for having that kind of person or being in a relationship with that kind of person. It's kind of, you get in this situation where you find a lot of things you didn't like because you chose this person based on some kind of aesthetic or something that you can't float a relationship with. That's another thing that eventually I'll get into, is sometimes what you want as far as attraction collides with what you need as far as a relationship goes. Long many pages in that book to this story. That was a horrible way of saying that. Anyway, I would say more or less you have to get to a level where you're either completely satisfied with the kind of person that person is, or you're dealing with them for the sake of having them for another reason. In the end, whenever that's the situation, don't count on being in a good and meaningful relationship, because your relationship is not based on anything good or meaningful. The kind of aesthetic that you like in a person is not going to be the kind of thing that holds a relationship together. You're going to find yourself going to different things and interested in different things and basically watching TV in two different rooms. That's what happens, and I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about there. But anyway, more or less, for us metalhead dudes, the whole alienation and the whole being into that kind of music kind of puts you on the outside, and it makes it so that you're either going to date chicks that are dating you for those horrible reasons I just talked about, or chicks that are dating you because they like the kind of thing you're into. From my own personal experience dating another metalhead chick, it kind of, with me, it turns into this kind of contest of who's the most metal, I'm more metal than you are. You're listening to some band that's totally not metal. I don't want to date you anymore. And sometimes that ends up happening. You're not as metal as I thought you were. So it just kind of gets silly. It's really childish. Really, this whole metal genre thing amongst other metalheads can get really childish. So I tend to not date women that are into metal. They might like some of the stuff I like, but generally we don't, we meet at different places as far as music goes. Another thing is, sometimes dudes, if you're, everything is based on looks. Everything, everybody, even the ugliest woman on earth wants an attractive man. If you don't feel like you're attractive, most other people are likely going to feel the same way. If you don't do anything to promote yourself as being attractive, you're probably not going to be considered attractive to anyone. But the whole idea is to be considered attractive to the kind of women you want to date. So if you're Beetlejuice, don't approach Barbie for her number. It's just not going to work. If you kind of see yourself side by side with somebody and it doesn't look like a match in your own head, it's probably not a match. That's another thing dudes do sometimes. They try to get these chicks just based on how they look. Like, you don't have anything in common. There's nothing you can talk about. So it's just going to lead to an awkward conversation that will lead to an awkward conversation on the phone if you even get that far, which will lead to just generally an awkward high kind of situation whenever you see each other after that phone call. So it's best to try to do what is within your parameters. Maybe sometimes you might, another thing is sometimes these guys get out here and they think that they're just going to be dating these chicks that are totally, completely out of their league. In reality, they need to be trying to date these chicks who are interested in them. Sometimes it's a matter of you just simply not seeing that you're in a certain group of people and those group of people will be attracted to you, and you're trying to get outside of that thing. So it's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of chicks who date dudes that don't, necessarily match their look. And it's really silly, but that's how people are. People don't always date based on these good and wonderful things that romance movies make it seem like they date for. They don't date for these kinds of reasons. And we're adults here, so everybody knows what I'm talking about. By no means am I like this ladies man pimp or anything. All my knowledge is based off of not scoring. So when you're able to score it, it's okay. That's how you do it. And when I say, that sounds horrible, I don't mean to say score, but in terms of actually being successful in approaching somebody and being able to carry on a relationship from there. Okay, metalhead guys, you have to turn it down. You can't be metal 24 hours a day. It has to get to another level of where you're on the same page with other human beings, because the whole metal 24/7 thing, it's like, okay, there's dudes who do the whole hip-hop 24/7 thing. That gets old, and it even gets old to the people around them who like that kind of music, because at some point you have to listen to something different. Your mind is not you can't do that. You can't stay stuck on this I'm metal all the time kind of thing, because you're hanging out with your girl and you're watching TV, or you're hanging out with your girl, you're riding down the street or something like that, and it's metal, and it's awkward, it's strange. You have to be on the same page with it. There's times where it's fun because she may not be into metal and she might be into that song, so it's fun, but it can't be to a point of where you're going out for the evening, you're dressed up, and you're listening to the blackest of black death whatever before you go on the date. It's just it's awkward. You don't want to create any kind of awkwardness, because the fact that you're a metalhead and you're even dating any kind of chick that is remotely not metal is going to be amazing to most people when they see you together. Anyway, like I was saying, you don't necessarily want to get into it with chicks that are going to compete with metalness for you, but at the same time you don't want to completely sacrifice your unique sense of self or your own personality, your own person. You don't ever want to completely change who you are in order to date somebody, because that's going to be catastrophic too, because you're not being yourself. Eventually it'll get to a point where being around them will become a chore. Everything is a chore because you're stepping outside of what you would normally do. So never do that. Never completely change yourself to date someone. If they like you, they're going to like you for you. So always keep that in mind. if you've been told you're not an attractive guy, what you want to do is play up what is attractive about you. You know, you look at your features, you see, because in reality, most people consider it beautiful. If you take away one pivotal feature, they wouldn't be considered beautiful anymore. It's because they've played up that one feature, and that one feature they've worked around it to shape what becomes an attractive face or an attractive body or what have you. So if you're an ugly guy, you feel like you're ugly, you need to get out there and find some kind of way to play it up. Because if you're an ugly dude, I guarantee you've got to have at least 3 cute qualities. Work those cute qualities. You really got to work them in there, because that's how you're going to get chicks. It is. You have to be at least cute on some level. If you can't do it with your face, you have to do it with your personality. You have to find a way to appeal to the women that you want to date through conversation or through art. What is this, the 80s? And you can't say art anymore. People don't really go to do that. Some people do, some people don't. But anyway, some kind of thing, some kind of hobby, I should say. Something that you both have in common. That's another thing. You can't date someone that you have nothing in common with. You can't date someone because they're just cute to you. You're not even going to get in most cases just because of that. Because in most cases, they may not think you're cute, or they may not want to date you. So it's not, get it out of your head. There's a reason that you're not getting this chick that you are interested in, is because you likely don't have much in common. People who are meant to or date more or less are going to eventually, there's something that's going to, bring them together in some kind of way. There's some kind of contact there. More or less, I'm going to get into that next week with breaking the ice. Right now, you need to just more or less, I'm going to start fresh here with the stuff you need to start with. And starting with it is making yourself appealing to the kind of women you want to date. You're not going to do it by just simply showing up in your Testament t-shirt and, head banging when you came through the door to whatever music you're listening to. You're going to have to do it with your personality. You're going to have to do with something, because that might not be outwardly attractive to them. But then, like I told you to start with, let's say you're attractive to some metal chick somewhere, and that's it. Like, she's metal, you're metal, but that's what the relationship is based on, is the fact that you both like metal. And like I said, that can turn into this metal contest, as I call it. It's where you're competing to see who's the most metal. There's arguments over listening to music because this band isn't metal enough, and it just gets really childish and silly. Anyway, guys, I really hate that I can't get into breaking the ice this week, because I have to keep the videos at 15 minutes or less. You have to say a lot of stuff about dating. You're not going to say it in 5 to 7 minutes. You got to go the whole 15. Sorry about that, YouTubers. I know everybody hates my videos because they go nearly 15 minutes. I say stuff in 15 minutes. It's not like I'm just, worthlessly babbling 15 minutes. There's nuggets in there. And it took 15 minutes. I can't get the nuggets out in 7 minutes. It's not going to make any sense to you. Give me a break. Anyway, like I said, next week will be breaking the ice. And this week is just simply making yourself, getting through the alienation is what I call it. You want to break through that whole metal alienation and that you're different, weird kind of thing, and find common ground. My first thing I did in order to do that was I found bands that were good technically, but women liked. Muse was a good one. 311 is another good one. Chicks love 311. What's another good band that you can? What's a good? I find that a lot of good classic rock bands, for some reason, chicks like Journey, chicks like Styx, that kind of, they do, surprisingly, they do like that kind of stuff. So you want to meet them on some common ground there, like hands down, that'll do it. But next week, I'll see you guys back with Breaking the Ice. This thing is going to work, Rob. You're anonymous. No one's going to know it was you.